Hey, welcome to another episode of Peppy's Online Culinary Kitchen. I am Peppy. So, there's been a lot of, and I've seen a lot of various posts in different smoking groups, cooking groups, pellet smoker groups about the Aldi briskets. Now, these briskets aren't, they aren't a full packer. They aren't. They aren't big. Um, they are pre-seasoned with salt and pepper, and there's also a barbecue one, but I didn't get that one. I got the salt and pepper seasoned one, and these are flats. These aren't points. Now this one here is 2.32 pounds. Now my Aldi has them for $7 a pound. So this one was $16.22. That's one of them. The other one is the same thing, just a bit bigger. And this one is 2.77 pounds. Okay. Salt and pepper seasoned. Now, I'm going to do these in the same fashion as I do my full packer briskets, the ones that have the point and the flat. Since these are just a flat, I'm going to adjust my smoking and cooking times to correspond to the flat because there's no point. Now, I know that wasn't a play on words, but the way it came out, it was. But I'm going to do it the same way and use the same process as I do with my full-size brisket. So we're going to go to the next camera, and I'm going to show you the process and the prep. Okay, so now we're going to get these prepped and processed and ready to go. So this is a what they call a hotel pan. It's 2.5 inch full size hotel pan or buffet pan, whichever you want to call it. But it's 2.5 inch deep. In the bottom of this, I have about the depth of my first knuckle here, 3/4 of an inch or so, is beef stock, bouillon, and some Worcestershire sauce, just for taste. And what we're going to do is this rack is a cooling rack for like cookies. They have feet on them. This is a full-size rack. They have feet on them, but these feet are designed to like sit on a table or wherever. So these feet, when it sits the other way around, they hit the top of that pan. So flip it over so those little feet are sticking up, and then you're going to put your meat on top of this. Now, when you do it this way, and this is the same process as I do my big briskets, when you do this way, you want to do these fat side down. And there's a reason for this. When you do these fat side down, you are allowing the fat, and there's not a lot on these. These are flats. So there's really not a lot of fat on these. What you're doing is when these start to render down, the fat will drip into this stock in the bottom. Now, What that does is when that fat mixes in with the stock in here, the bouillon stock in here, when you get to the next step and you put these in that stock, that liquid fat acts as an insulator. And what happens is it insulates the meat and creates like a coating around the meat and retains its moisture inside. So we're going to start these out on fat side down. I'm going to put my Thermal Mavens in here. I'm going to put one in this smaller chunk, one in this bigger chunk. I'm also going to put one of my grill probes in here and monitor the cook with both systems. We're going to run this on super smoke on the 1100 2B until the internal gets to 145, however long that's going to take. Once they get to 145, we will take them off of this rack, flip them over fat side up, and put them into the stock. Then we'll take some foil and tent over this. I'll increase the temp on the smoker to 250. I'll let these go completely until they are probe tender, which is about 208, 206, somewhere in that area. But it can be different because since it's a flat, it can be different. It could be probe tender at 195. It could be probe tender at 200. Every cut of meat is entirely different. You could have two briskets from the same animal. You know, you got both sides of the belly, brisket on one side, brisket on the other side. And both of those briskets, even though they came from the same animal, they could cook entirely different. So you really can't go by time with these. You always got to go by temp. So once these hit 145, we'll take them off the rack. We'll flip them over, put them in stock, cover them, bring them to probe tender. And then once they hit probe tender, we'll take them out of this au jus and then put them on the smoker, meat side up, fat side down. And what that'll do is that'll dry out the top of this and reset that bark that's on there. That way you don't have like a pot roast, but it'll reset that bark. Then we'll pull them off. We'll let them set for an hour and cut into them. And that's all there's to it. That's how it's done. So I'm going to stop this right now. I'm going to switch to the next camera and we'll show you the probe insertion and getting them onto the smoker outside. Okay, so we got the Thermal Maven, 2 probes, and I want to. Here's the grill probe. Now the sensor on these is right at the tip. Okay, it's only about an inch. It only goes to right about there, about an inch down. The rest of this here are little wires from inside this braid. You know, the braid is crimped, and then the wires are the braid is stripped to expose the wires, and then the wires, you know, that come up inside the shaft or the probe here, and then connect to the platinum metal that's in here. Okay, but I want this probe, and I want this probe to be monitoring the same depth. So I'm going to take probe 1 out of the thing, and I'm going to kind of measure the distance of the depth of the both probes. So I want see this black line right here is the depth for the thermal ion. So I want my other meat probe to be, the same depth. So I'm just going to kind of put my thumb on there and basically mark it haphazardly to that insertion point. So we'll put this in here. Like that. Okay. And then we'll take this one and put it in adjacent, not next to it, but adjacent to that the grill probe. Now, the reason why you don't want them next to each other, like right next to each other, is because the heat will transfer back and forth and can affect the wireless. There's 5 sensors in that wireless probe. There's one here in the black tip, which measures the ambient, and then there's 5 sensors within the rest of the shaft or that probe. So you don't want the heat transferring off of the grill probe into the wireless probe, because it'll throw off your cook. Now we're going to take the second one and put that one in to this chunk. Okay? Just like that. Now, I have this set. As you can see, one's reading 44 and the other one's reading 46. Now, I have these preset for 205 internal. So once they hit 205, that'll be done. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to, once the grill probe hits 145, that's when I'm going to put them into the liquid. But as you can see, they're both reading, one's 45 and the other one's 42. So that's really, really close, really accurate. Okay. So now that we got that set up, we're going to get them out on the smoker. Okay, so here we are on the 1100 2B running in super smoke, and I have the lid open, and there's the briskets in there. Okay, there they are. Probe 1, probe 2. Probe 1 is reading 45. Probe 1 is reading 45. So they are exactly the same. We're going to run this in super smoke. I'm going to push the timer just to see how long it takes to get to 145 on this. Same with this here, 145. And then that'll be the next step. Okay, so we've been on here for 3 hours and 23 minutes, and we've hit the plateau. We've hit the stall. This is going to go into the stock now, because if I let this go any longer, like I had planned, bringing up to 145, I'm going to end up with a big chunk of jerky. So we're going to reevaluate the original temps, and we're going to get this into the broth, into the stock. Okay, so we've added some sliced onions into the stock, and you notice that we did fat side up into the stock, and we're going to foil tent this and bring up the temp up to 250. Okay, so there's the temp up to 250, and the meat probe is showing 107 on there. And we're going to let this go until it is probe tender. So 205, 207, somewhere around there. Okay, we are at the 5 hours and 40-minute mark. Our internal says 203 on there. Our thermal mavens, one says 203, one says 204. We're going to open this up, and we're going to get a look at them, and going to see what they are, double check, and see if we're going to pull them out of the pan and let them reset their bark on the grate. Okay, so there they are, and it's reading 206.4 in the biggest one. It's one spot. 208. I was down into the liquid on that one. 2059, 206, 202, 201, 205, almost 205, 205, there we go. So we have hit our target mark at 205. We're going to take them out of the liquid, and we're going to reset the bark. If you look at the temp probe on this, I had these set for 205. So this one just went off and alerted me that the cook was finished. But I'm going to let it go a little bit longer because I want this one here to come up a little bit higher in temp. But here's what they look like. Now we're just resetting that bark that's on there. Okay, so here is the Aldi briskets. And about it was a 6-hour cook. And after a rest period, while the potatoes were being cooked, it was sitting in the pan with the stock. And there is this is the small one. And here's the cuts. Couple of the cuts that came off of it. Okay, so here's another cut. Now this is a Mercer serrated slicer knife. You can either use a straight blade, which is what's called a grand edge, or you can use a serrated. It does not matter. there's the small one. And there is the bend. Now this is still really, really warm. It only dropped down to about 195, 190. But it pulls apart just nicely. So now I'm going to put these pieces back in the juice. And I'm going to cut into this bigger one and get a look at that. But the bark on here is really good, really nice. Not a lot of fat on them, but the bark is set up real nice. Okay. So here we go again with the knife. Now, as you can see, that is a nice smoke ring. Yes, I know it doesn't matter, but that is a nice smoke ring. Nice depth, nice color. Now, you're not going to get that much smoke ring through the fat. This was the end piece. There wasn't a lot of fat on this bottom end. So that's why that's darker on the bottom side. Cut off another piece here. That absolutely looks amazing. Not dry. The texture is nice. It has a prominent black pepper taste. If you're not a fan of a lot of black pepper, I would rinse this off before you start. And just do a little bit of pepper. I mean, obviously it's penetrated into the meat, so you don't even have to put pepper on it. There's not a lot of salt to it. Even though it says it's a salt and pepper seasoned brisket, not a heavy salt content. It does have, like I said, it does have a good bit of pepper. Nice bark for a flat. And if I was going to do this again, a couple of things that I would change up is the smoke session that I did on this. I did a 160 till it hit. It was supposed to hit 145, 140, 145. I altered that because at 100, this was starting to kind of look like a piece of jerky. So I altered my course on that. I did put it in the pan at 100 when it hit 100, and I bumped up the temp to 250, and then I continued it on until it hit internal 205. That 205 was just at the minimum probe tender. To do this again, I would have taken this to at least 208, and it would have been more probe tender. But all in all, if you're looking for a small brisket to do just for like 2 people or whatever, or even for yourself, I would do these again for that, and then cut it in half and make slices out of it and freeze it up, steak and eggs or whatever, and vac seal it and freeze it. But yeah, I would, for the price, a little high. I mean, it's $7 a pound, $6.99 a pound, but that could be regional. I mean, it might be lower at some other stores, but for my stores around here, that's not bad, considering like Sam's Club for a whole packer is, as I checked it yesterday, it was up to $5.75 a pound for a choice packer. So don't sleep on these. Don't rule them out. They are a good. They will turn out good. So if you're looking for something, these are nice to do. Until the next time, this is Peppy Joe coming at you, and we'll see you again.